2016, Module 3, Part 7. In this segment, we're going to look at, again, creating a query with multiple criteria, but this time they're going to be combined in an OR combination. And when we use an OR combination, if either criteria is true, then the record is selected. We're also going to look at a couple of ways to change the appearance of our query results after we get them in the datasheet view. So we're going to get back into our Riverview database, and this time what we're going to do is we're going to start with a copy of our younger and off-site animals query. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose copy. Then I'm going to right click on a blank space and choose paste. And I'm going to name this younger or off-site animals. I'm going to change the and to an or. Again, one of the key things to do when you copy and paste your queries is to make sure that you go to the new one before you start making changes. So I'm going to open up younger or off-site animals, and I'm going to go back to the design view to make some changes. Whenever we have multiple criteria and we want them combined in an OR format, they need to be on opposite rows. So for example, our animal birth date is on the criteria row, so I'm going to remove the off-site criteria and put it on the row right below it, which is the OR row. So I will type yes there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to run my query. Before we run it, let's go ahead and sort it by birth date. So we are going to say the birth date sort is going to be in descending order. And now we're going to click Run. You can see that many more records were selected when we chose an OR format. So we said greater than or equal to July 1, 2015 for the birth date. Well, as I scroll down, you can see that this particular animal does not meet that requirement. However, they were an off-site visit. So anytime one of the two criteria are met, the record still gets selected. If you look at these records here, this was not an off-site visit. However, you can see that the birth date criteria was met, so this record was selected. Remember, in our AND combination, both items had to be true for the record to be selected. Let's go ahead and save these changes, and then let's look at some ways that we can change our appearance of our data sheet with our query results. So one of the things that we can do is change the font or the font size. So maybe you're dealing with someone who's a little older and can't see it quite as well, so they would like it a little larger. If you do enlarge it, you're probably going to have to come in here and resize your fields because all of the information is not going to fit when you enlarge the font. Okay, so now maybe the next thing we'd like to do is change some of the coloring. So if you hover over this button right underneath the fonts, you'll see that it says alternate row color. So if I choose this is another technique that can sometimes help someone who's having a hard time seeing across the rows to see the data that belongs together. So we're going to do alternating row colors of green, accent 6, lighter 60%. You want to make sure you hover over the buttons so that you get the right name as well as the right percentage, lighter or darker, when you're choosing your colors for homework and an exam. So now you can see it makes it a little easier to follow the data across the rows when each one is colored differently. So let's go ahead and save these changes. That concludes working with this query. We're going to go ahead and close this query.